Welcome to our presentation. For this presentation, I will be introducing first my co-reporters, Nicole K. Concepcion, Hazel Joyce Escala, Sonny Matthew Estacio, and me, Lois Alberdoce. And for today's presentation or reporting, we will be tackle about the external factor evaluation or EFE matrix, 5 steps to develop an EFE matrix, internal factor evaluation IFE matrix, process of performing IFE matrix, strategic position and action evaluation or the SPACE matrix, and lastly, the 7 steps in constructing a SPACE matrix.
Hello, so ako nga pala si Nicole K. Concepcion at itatalakay natin dito kung ano nga ba yung EFE or External Factor Evaluation. So, isa tong strategic analysis tool na ginagamit sa pag-evaluate ng firm's external environment at para ma-reveal dito yung strength at ang kanilang weaknesses. So, kapag gumagamit kayo ng EFE matrix, kailangan natin matukoy dito kung ano nga ba yung key external opportunities and threats nila na maaaring maapekto ang company. So, meron tayong mga 5 steps dito kung paano nga ba ma-develop ang EFE matrix. So, kapag gagawa ka ng EFE matrix, kailangan mo i-list dito yung external factors and categorize them as opportunities or threats. So, the key factors ay kailangan din ma-extract from previous deep analysis of external environment such as PEST or SWOT. Ang SWOT kasi ay ibig sabihin na strength, weaknesses, opportunities, at threats. Kailangan nandun siya, pumapaloob talaga siya dun. So, they may include trade agreements or mga supply chain issues, mga information on competitors, market fluctuations, and new legislation, and much more. So, once na ma-identify na natin at makategorize ang key internal factors, o either opportunities or threats, kailangan mong consider yung factors could potentially benefit or harm your company. Kung talaga bang mabe-benefit ba to sa company mo or ma-harm ba to sa company mo. So, ang pangalawang step ay kailangan mo mag-assign a weight to each factor. So, once na ma-identify na natin ang opportunities and threats, kailangan mo mag-assign ng weighted scores. This is an important step because not all external factors will impact your business equally. So, yung weights na to are subjective. But, kailangan mo rin bumase sa mga analysis of industry experts. Kailangan mo rin malaman kung consider the most important factors for success in your sector. Kung makakatulong ba to para maging successful yung sector mo. So, meron tayong mga ratings dito. Meron tayong number 1 is poor. The number 2 is response is below average. Number 3 is response is above average. And the response is superior. So, yun yung mga gagamitin nating ratings kung gaano ba to each external factor should reflect how effectively the firm's current strategies respond to the opportunities and threats. So, pang-apat na step, kailangan mong ma-determine ang weighted score. To determine the weighted score for each of external factors, simply multiply nyo yung its weight niya by its rating. So, ang total weighted score, to find the total weighted score, kailangan mong simply add all the weighted scores together. The total weighted score should range between 1 and 4. So, yun yung magiging total weighted score natin. So, the total weighted score of EFE matrix is only part of the picture. So, the analysis ng key external factors should be combined with analysis of the key internal factors gamit ng IFE matrix. So, kasi yung IFE matrix kasi parang parehas lang din siya ng EFE matrix. So, after natin ma-analyze ang both internal and external environment, the company can develop a new strategy that will help it grow at para maging more competitive ito.
Internal Factor Evaluation Matrix or IFE matrix is one of the best strategic tools to perform internal audits of any firm. As you can see, the tables includes important internal variables like strength and weaknesses, as well as rating and weighted score. Strengths describe what an organization excels at and what separates it from the competition. For example, a strong band, loyal customers, and strong balance sheet. Weaknesses is an organization from performing at its optimum level. They are areas where the business needs to improve to remain competitive, like a weak brand, higher than average turnover, and high levels of debt. Weights. Each key factor should be assigned a weight ranging from zero point zero from or low importance to 1.0 or high importance. The number indicates how important the factor is if a company wants to succeed in an industry. Ratings. The ratings in internal metrics refer to how strong or weak each factor is in a firm. Weighted score. The weighted score is the result of weight multiplied by rating. Each key factors must receive a score. Total weighted score is simply the sum of all individual weighted scores. Just simply add the percentages together in the weight column to get the total, as well as the rating and weighted score. Using the IFE matrix, the allowed average score is 2.50, and we get 2.80 in terms of its internal environment. The company's position is strong.
Space analysis is an analytical technique used in strategic management and planning. SPACE is an acronym of Strategic Position and Action Evaluation. SPACE Matrix is a strategic management tool that focuses on strategy formulation, especially as related to the competitive position of an organization. Ang SPACE Matrix ay isang management tool na ginagamit upang pag-aralan ang isang kumpanya. Ito ay ginagamit upang matukoy kung anong uri ng isang diskarte ang dapat gawin ng isang kumpanya. Ang Space Matrix ay maaaring gamitin bilang batayan para sa iba pang mga pagsusuri tulad ng analysis, SWOT analysis, BCG matrix model, industry analysis, pati na rin ang strategic alternatives or ito ay IE matrix. The space analysis describes the environment using two criteria. One is external environment. An external environment is a group of factors or conditions that are outside the organization but affect it in some extent. In business, this term commonly applies to elements related to out-of-control dimensions such as society, economy, regulations, and political system. There are two types of external environment. Environmental stability. This is the environment's stability that can be found on the low end of the y-axis on the matrix. Example, technological changes, rate of inflation, demand variability, price range of competing products, barriers to entry into market, competitive pressure, price elasticity of demand. And number 2 is industry attractiveness. To the right on the x-axis of the space analysis matrix, it shows the industry attractiveness, also called industry strength. Example, retailing has always had the reputation of being a highly competitive industry, while the railroad industry is thought to be less competitive. Internal environment. An internal environment is a set of elements that define the atmosphere within the company's structure. It describes the way activities and relationships are carried out inside the business, normally within co-workers. There are two types of internal environment. Competitive advantage. The competitive advantage can be found on the left side of the x-axis of the space analysis. Example is market share, product quality, product life cycle, customer loyal, competition's capacity utilization, technological know-how, control over supplies and distributors, and last, financial strengths. The top of the space analysis matrix, y-axis shows the financial strength of the business. The example is return on investment, leverage, liquidity, working capital, cash flow, ease of exit from market, risk involved in business.
From the past reporters, they've explained the SWOT, TOS, and BGC matrix model, and earlier, the internal and external factors. Now, let me briefly talk about the SPACE matrix. SPACE matrix, it is more on analytical review that shows the outcome of the SWOT calculations. Using the SPACE matrix, it shows how the company are responding to the variables and sub-factors by measuring and labeling, like rating variables, getting average scores up until to the plotting of the sub-factors into the SPACE matrix graph. To sum it up, in order to make a strategic decision, SPACE matrix help the organization to determine the type of strategy that the company should undertake based on what quadrants they are into. As an example, I will be using the Nostream company. Let me read first. Nostream Catering has been a catering industry food service for more than a decade. It has served a lot of customers including the celebrities. Since it has started in the late mid-2000s, the minimum packages ranges from 100,000 pesos to 220,000 pesos for 150 guests. It can adjust the package if the customer's budget is limited. Currently, it does not cater Classes A and has few with Classes B clients. Many of its staff started their employment more than 7 years ago. To identify the Nostream company strategy, join me as I explain to you the steps on how the company are able to respond with the situation before getting into a strategic decision. Step 1. Select and list down all the sub-factors like competitive advantage, industry attractiveness, environmental stability, and the financial strength. Step 2. Rate the factors individually. As we can see in the picture, competitive advantage and environmental stability should be rated from -6 for worst and -1 for best, while the industry attractiveness and the financial strength should be rated in a +1 for worst and +6 for best. After we select or list down and rate the factors individually, we should find their average scores. For the step 3, we should find the average score of the SPACE factors. Kung makikita natin sa picture, yung mga variables is pinag-add lang natin siya. And naging total niya is -14. So, ito yung tinatawag na sum of the variable ratings. Yung ratings na to, i-divide natin siya sa total number of variables which is 6. Then, -14 divided by 6 is equals to -2.3 which is ito yung average score na meron ng isang factor. After natin makuha yung average score ng bawat factor, ipag-a-add naman natin yung average score ng competitive advantage and industry attractiveness. Kung makikita natin dito sa picture is yung total average score ng competitive advantage factor and ng industry attractiveness factor. Kung sa competitive advantage is -2.3 and yung industry attractiveness is +4.7, para makuha natin yung total average score ng dalawa, ipagpa-plus natin yung -2.3 and 4.7 which is equals to 2.4. Ang location ng CA and IA is on or should be plot in the x-axis. Kung kinuha natin yung average score ng competitive advantage and industry attractiveness, syempre kukuhain din natin yung financial strength and environmental stability. Same procedure. Yung financial strength na average score na 3.8, ipapaplas natin siya sa environmental stability na average score which is -4.5, magiging ang average nila is -0.7. And the location of these two factors should be placed in y-axis on the SPACE matrix. Now we are done to get all the average score of all sub-factors. We are now proceeding in plotting it to the SPACE matrix. Before we proceed to the 6th and 7th steps, let me identify the different quadrants first. From the upper right is quadrant 1, next is the upper left side which is quadrant 2, next down to left which is the quadrant 3, and next the right side which is quadrant 4. If the company situation is in quadrant 1, they can use the strategy like backward, forward, or horizontal integration, market penetration, market development, product development, and diversification that is known as aggressive or under the aggressive position. While in quadrant 2, or the conservative position, they can use the strategy of market penetration, market development, product development, related diversification. While in quadrant 3, which is the defensive position, they can use the retrenchment, divestiture, and liquidation. And if your company is in a competitive position or the quadrant 4, they can use the backward, forward, or horizontal integration, market penetration, market development, and the product development. For the step 6, plot na natin yung mga average of competitive advantage, industrial attractiveness, environmental stability, and financial strength na nakuha natin kanina. Now, this is the last step. Find the intersection of x and y points. Yung x-axis natin na nakuha kanina is yung CA and IA, which is yung total average score nila is 2.4. While sa y-axis na financial strength and ES or environmental stability is negative 0.7. What we're going to do is ipaplot na natin siya sa mismong space matrix graph. Kung makikita natin sa picture, yung negative 0.7 is started from the center point of the graph or the space matrix, and yung 2.4 is on the y-axis na nasa baba siya, which is in a quadrant 4 position. As we can see, the Nordstrom Catering Company situation resulted in quadrant 4. Like what I've said kanina, na yung quadrant 4 is also known as a competitive position. By being competitive, the Nordstrom Catering Company can use the strategy of backward, forward, horizontal integration, product development, market penetration, market development. In backward, forward, and horizontal integration, it means that the Nordstrom Company should have a supplier to have an easy access to the needs and wants of the guests to the venue, like designs or any concerns nila kung ano yung mga gusto nilang mangyari sa occasion na yon. And also the supply chain for the Nordstrom Company to have a fast production. In market penetration, the company may increase their programs or mag-add sila ng other programs, which is to help and to satisfy the guest. In market development, this catering company may find another or new target marketers that afford the package offered or maghanap pa sila ng mas marami pang customers. Lastly, the product development. It means that the tools and equipments or any products and services in this catering company should need an improvement or enhancement in order to maintain their competitiveness. This various strategy is under the competitive position. A well-served company like Nordstrom Company should focus on or should adapt to maintain their competitive advantage to their competitors. That's the end of our presentation, and we hope that you understand now the internal and external factors as well as the plotting in space matrix to identify the situation and the strategies of a company. Thank you very much.